All right, now, everybody. Quiet, listen to me. We're going to start a show. Now, some of you people have been with me before. You know it's going to be a tough grind, but we're going to have a show.
Oh, thank you, everyone. Thank you. I'm warmed. I'm humbled. I'm buoyed by your recorded applause. And let me just say that Fridays are a special kind of day on this show. Kim is here.
Kim, how are you?
In fact, Kim and I already had our first altercation of the day. And Albert is here as well.
Albert, thank you.
And we haven't had an altercation yet, so it's something to look forward to. The commissioner of Marks Madness is Albert, and we have Marks Madness with a squeaker getting through in the first round. We'll get to that in just a second. Yes, we will talk about the ongoing controversy in Washington. It's apparently an extreme illegality to discuss various operational details on an insecure network that adversaries could be and likely were listening to, which is a bit
What?
I know. Well, one of the recipients of a lot of that information was certainly in the belly of the beast in Russia, where there is a lot of spying going on. But we understand the Russians are our friends now, so maybe they don't spy anymore. You can tell me.
No.
Avila and Shure join us in hour two. We've got Florida and more. Sit back and let's rock this thing. I'm telling you what, I am jacked up. I declared a code yellow before this show started. I'm having to leave on a trip immediately following the show. I'm pressed to discharge the basic responsibilities that are associated with hosting this show. I considered even moving those responsibilities to my colleague, Kim McAllister. But when informed that she might have to host Monday and Tuesday's show, she said, oh, okay.
What?
Yeah. So I thought, well, dude, no way she can take any of this show. I mean, I guess, but I get it. I understand.
I said I would do it.
Yeah. You did.
Said, absolutely.
You did.
I blame you there whenever
Yeah.
you need me to do it. But, it is more work. Come on now. It's like when your teacher tells you have to write an essay over the weekend. You're like, okay, but I'm not
All right.
happy about
But
it.
listen, I just finished a little over half-hour conversation with the great Tom Hartman. You'll hear it on Monday on this show. So you've got that. You can just park that and go have some Coachella Valley tea. But
Don't mind if I do.
yeah. Anyway, all right, that's all going to be on Monday. So you can
Can't
see
wait
we've
to do
already.
the show on Monday. It's going to be the best show ever. Tom Hartman will be here, everyone.
Girl, you just woo.
Yeah, you'll
Barry
reckon.
Dietrich will be here. I mean, this show is going to be. Who needs Mark Thompson?
I think it's going to be special. I really do.
Trip after trip. Come on now.
We've got some serious news happening in another far-off part of the world, of course. I will get to that in a moment. But first, I want to go to the commissioner and an update on Marks Madness. It was a squeaker, was it not, Commish?
It was very close, and I could show you the voting here.
Yeah, please show
From
me the voting.
yesterday. This is one of our closest matchups, 51-49.
Okay, for everybody just listening who's not seeing it, again, it's yesterday it was a Bet My Lunch going up against Wild Idea. So Bet My Lunch and Wild Idea jockeyed for position through the entire 24-hour period.
I'd be willing to bet my lunch that there's alcohol involved.
That's the one thing. And Wild Idea was
it's a wild idea, but it just might work.
So all through this 24-hour period, Bet My Lunch and Wild Idea were jockeying for position. Again, the voting going on in the posts section of our YouTube channels. You vote for one of the two drops to continue. Anyway, so the winner was, Commish?
It was Wild Idea with a very narrow margin.
Wild Idea moves on. Yeah.
Those are the ones that kind of seep into your vocabulary where you start using them in real life and in sentences. You can't stop.
It
Both
is true.
Of those are like
It is true. There's a lot of those in this kind of blend of drops, but I agree. Wild Idea is definitely. So Wild Idea moves on. It will take on Love It When You're Angry, which beat out No. Is that it?
Yeah, the Simon no. So both of
Was-
our no drops, which I was hoping that they would meet each other at some point during this tournament, did not make it to the
No.
No. It's a shame. I like the no.
No.
I like that lady. But anyway, neither one moved on. So it's Love It When You're Angry. And I think that won decisively over No. So that was not a close competition.
Definitely not close.
So that's the latest on what happened in the last 24 hours. This is all round one of March Madness. And as you may be aware, March Madness takes place every March. We do it concurrently with March Madness. March Madness is hoops. March Madness is the sounds of this show, these drops. And so without any further delay,
gets a big bottle of wine this year.
Oh yeah, the winner, actually, I think it was Kim's suggestion, gets a big bottle of wine. And we have to buy the wine also from Tenuta Vineyard. But it is our proprietary blend. It is weird that we have to buy our own proprietary blend. Don't you think that's odd, Kim?
It is why are you yelling red?
Yeah.
I mean,
Why are you yelling?
Yeah, all right. So
your name's on it, but it's not like you own the vineyard.
It is true. All right, let's get after it.
March Madness.
Here it is. You'll vote either, my friends, for this.
You just don't get it, do you? You don't.
Or you'll vote for this.
Listen to me. I don't want to hear you.
All right, so it is.
You just don't get it, do you?
Yeah.
You don't.
Or
Listen to me. I don't want to hear you.
it's You Just Don't Get It versus Judge Judy's I Don't Want to Hear You. You'll vote till midnight tonight in the post section of our YouTube channel. Good luck. Wow.
And I will have an update on the standings next hour when we preview the next drops.
Terrific. Commish, top of the next hour, gives us a sense of who's ahead and who is behind, but still in the hunt. So,
The Mark Thompson Show.
this is a serious earthquake in Myanmar, and it's so intense and so serious that it was felt in Thailand and even China. And this is a 7.7 magnitude quake. It was reverberating apparently through all these reports across Southeast Asia. And the scale of death and destruction is just beginning to be evidence. This Albert is putting up for those in YouTube. You can see a map of where Myanmar is. Just it's Burma, Burma, and the destruction is massive. The pictures that are coming and will continue to emerge out of this region, I think will show scenes like this. Massive destruction with a massive quake. I mean, you have a quake that's almost an 8. It's really...
Just piles of debris, buildings that came down. Look at this one.
That's a pool water that's coming out of high-rise there. I believe that's... I want to say that's in Thailand, but I might be wrong. In any case, it's and you can see people fleeing.
They had a big aftershock too. It was the first one was a 7.7. Look at that building just coming down, and then the aftershock was a 6.4. So,
yeah, it is really scary that what you often end up with is a weakening of structures as a result of this massive quake, and then, as Kim has noted, you get these aftershocks that aren't quite as bad, but anything in the 6s is incredibly powerful as well. And one of these buildings that collapsed was under construction. Those are, each one of these buildings has its own history. Some are under construction, I think in the case of this one that we saw, but also you have varying timetables of construction, meaning varying amounts of earthquake bracing that was or was not in effect or in evidence in various structures in Myanmar. So it's a really difficult time there, obviously, and this just happened this morning.
They have more than 150 people dead. They have way more injured. So they're dealing right now with the emergency situation of trying to find people in the rubble and treating the injured that they have.
It occurred around 1:30 in the afternoon local time. That's about, they say that's 2:30 in the morning Eastern time.
It was scary.
Yeah, I'm sorry, it's 6 miles below the surface is what geologists are saying, near Mandalay, the second largest city in Myanmar. I'm just saying. This is according to the USGS.
Mm-hmm.
And then there was the 6.4, as you mentioned, 11 minutes later.
They're trying to free 110 people from the rubble. They think they're trapped under this under construction high rise that I think that may be the one we saw going down, but they think there are people trapped under there. So,
well, you know, I probably don't need to tell you, but I'll just remind you, this is an area. There's like a lot of militias that are running. If you want to think of Myanmar, this is not a central government that really has control over things. So you end up with a very scattershot ability to rescue people and to organize, you know. So this is the scene now when you try to, you know, bring some kind of central location where people can have shelter, where in other words, these sort of government services, if you want to think of them that way, there really is a struggle there for that kind of thing because there is militia control here and there. So you have to get them to work together. And apparently what I was reading earlier this morning is that they are working together, but or at least there seems to be some effort to work together. It's alarming in the extreme. And there is that pool, or at least a pool, that is splashing water out onto that top deck as the quake hits.
Can you look at those people they're in the pool overlooking, you know, the edge? I don't think that's the best place to be in an earthquake.
You wouldn't think, but I mean, maybe that's newer construction and they feel safe enough. I agree. You know, these buildings, the newer ones, are actually built to sway and
look at that.
You know, wow. Take that in. There it is. There's with moving a little bit of it swaying. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So this is the pictures are extraordinary, and I feel as though there's an unfolding tragedy there in Myanmar. So we will watch it for you, and Kim will have updates. Here is look at this is a subway train that's rocking back and forth. It looks like it's rocking off of the tracks. Again, that's a newer or newly constructed transportation rail system, and this is the under construction building that came down, at least one of them. I mean, I've seen that referenced in several reports,
mm-hmm.
and I think this is that. For those just listening, it has the kind of look of 9/11 with the building coming all the way down in the huge construction dust. I mean, the materials that made up that building just scattered in a huge cloud as people run up the street to escape that. It's chilling and really intense. So we'll continue to watch that. And, you know, when it comes to getting medical supplies and when it comes to getting relief packages into this region, the world really has to come together. So if you're watching now, Albert's doing a nice job of grabbing pictures from all around that region. As I say, the effects of the quake felt in Thailand, felt in China. So look at all the water washing into, what is that? That's a restaurant alongside the.
Yeah, and with it being so close to the water, you worry about that as well.
Tsunami,
everything that's going on.
Yeah. All right, we will keep you posted on this. That's the situation in Myanmar. So.
The Mark Thompson Show.
Back here, it is a super sticker. Thank you, Lucy McAllister, my favorite McAllister, riding to the rescue today with a $20 super sticker. Big shout out to you.
I bet Lucy would love to fill in.
You know what? Keep pushing it. Keep pushing it.
I blame you.
Yeah, I don't know, Kim. You're all chit. Yeah. All right. Lauren McAllister, who is, I think, the daughter of Lucy McAllister. Isn't that right?
Yeah.
With a $10 super sticker.
Big shout out.
Why not have mother and daughter fill in as the McAllister team joins you on it one day? Have you thought about that, Kim? Maybe you could.
That's a great idea. You're full of wonderful thought. Perfect.
Well, I mean, it is.
Ooh, it's a wild idea, but it just might work.
You just had the McAllisters one day. I think you should talk to them and get a feel for them, see if you vibe with them. You know, you have trouble getting along with people, I've noticed. So
no, I don't. What is wrong with you?
We could try ignoring it, sir.
I can't ignore it anymore. Try to ignore it. Anyway, I'm hopeful that anyone here for a huge soda? Exactly. James Watson anticipating the arrival of Michael Shure and Jim Avila in hour 2. Anyway, thank you, McAllisters. You are on the list to fill in on this show since Kim really wants to be removed from that list. So,
The Mark Thompson Show.
Let's get back to some of the other things that are happening domestically, even as we watch that situation in Myanmar. I'll start with the bizarro, typical stuff that is happening out of this administration. Donald Trump going after the Smithsonian institutions, which are, I think they're founded in the 1800s. It's kind of a public-private partnership. And through executive order, yesterday, President Trump says he wants to exert more control over what is displayed at the Smithsonian museums and federal sites, citing what he's calling divisive narratives promoted by certain museums. The executive order claimed the Smithsonian Institution, which operates numerous museums in the nation's capital, has in recent years come under the influence of anybody? DEI. Right, there you go. Yeah. Divisive race-centered ideology.
What does that mean? Does that mean like if there's an exhibit that features people of different cultures or ethnicities, that's DEI?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, okay.
Another way to put it is too many black people, probably. Too many other kinds of people who aren't white. That might be a way they put it.
So it's a white people museum. Great.
Yeah,
okay.
Why can't whites have a museum is what this shift has promoted narratives that portray America and American and Western values as inherently harmful and oppressive, the order says. The order cites an exhibit at the American Art Museum titled Stories of Race and American Sculpture and references at the National Museum of African American History and Culture that assert hard work, individualism, and the nuclear family are parts of white culture. Museums in our nation's capital should be places where individuals go to learn, the quote goes here, not to be subjected to ideological indoctrination or divisive narratives that distort our shared history. That's all in the executive order. The order directs Vice President Vance, who now has more time since his Greenland trip has pretty much been canceled, to lead efforts to eliminate content from Smithsonian museums that do not align with the administration's vision to remind Americans of our extraordinary heritage. In other words, they're going to dry clean the history of America to exclude a lot of the cruelty, a lot of the subjugation, and a lot of the minimization of people of color and other ethnicities besides the Caucasians who were part of the growth of this country. It's an extraordinary thing, since one of the things that makes America this incredible place. I mean, I think really, I don't want to say unique in all the world, because I don't think any longer it's unique. But one of the special things about America, and certainly in the fabric of our nation, is the way in which all these different cultures help contribute to what we are. I mean, it's a monument to the power of all these different cultures coming together. So it's it's not related to fact. And clearly what they want to do is they want their own narrative that doesn't really relate to fact.
It seems like there's so many things he could be focusing on. Yeah, maybe national security secrets and getting his staff in line, making sure they're trained as to how to keep the nation's secrets effectively. I don't think the Smithsonian Museum needs help.
I don't
They
think
were okay. Like they were fine on their own.
I don't think the Smithsonian Museum is why he was elected. So
No.
to your point, I mean, I think this is a really good point, and it's reflected in polling, and I'll get to the story in a second. He wasn't put in office to go after the Smithsonian and go after DEI. I mean, you may be able to, on some level, having with those cultural wedge issues, prove that there is an appetite for some of this crap. But the reality is people put him in power because he sold them a bunch of BS about the ability that he had to solve all their economic ills on day one. I mean, it was all a con. And guys, you bought it. Those of you who voted for him, and people voted for him for a lot of different reasons. There are people who vote for him for tax cuts. There are people who are voting for him because of the immigration issue. You felt that it was a substantial issue, substantial enough that you needed a change in leadership. Of course, odd that there really was a bipartisan bill on immigration in the last year of the Biden administration, a bipartisan immigration bill that included more immigration judges and a tougher border security and technology at the border that would have reduced immigration. But Donald Trump asked, in fact, leaned on Congress not to pass that bill because he felt it would be a political win for Joe Biden. And he wanted that immigration issue to help propel him to the presidency. And it worked. They didn't pass it. And so this is where we are. But in any case, my point is simply that immigration and the economy were probably the two major prongs of the BS that was slung that got him into office. Now, he's in office, and we realize it really was BS. I mean, hopefully you realize it. I mean, many of us who watched the show knew it all the way. You could smell the BS coming down the 5 freeway. It was incredible how completely empty of any underpinnings related to fact was the Trump stand on these issues, like the economy. I'm going to solve all the ills of the economy on day one. I'm going to stop the war in Ukraine on day one, all of this stuff. Anyway, to Kim's point, now he's about Smithsonian, now it's about other stuff, decapitating government, dismantling government. So what about that economy? Things ain't going so well. The latest polling shows him really underwater on the economy. In fact, he's at his lowest ebb when it comes to polling on the economy. And I think pretty much on everything else, he's dropped like a stone in the water when it comes to America's disposition toward him on these issues. I thought I had it in here.
Has Trump ever been in a museum? And all his appointed officers are DEI anyway. No one else would employ them. They're mentally ill. That's from Spamlet.
Yeah, there's some truth to that. That you do feel like we're dealing with the DEI cabinet in a way. I mean, they were put in place largely because of their loyalty to Trump, not because of their skills in any way. Trump favorable, unfavorable. These are averages from Real Clear polling. Here's the approval rating. Albert has it up for you now. His disapproval rating now continues to track higher than his approval rating, and that is a disapproval rating that is running about a minus, anywhere between a -9 to -12, -10. This is depending on what poll you're going with. Pew has him at -5. So the average puts him at -3.3. The job approval. Of course, he's coming in after a president who had very poor approval ratings. Joe Biden had very poor approval rating. I mean, he was, I think, at -18. And Trump's approval rating is now headed down in that way. Albert is putting these up. Let me quickly polling average for March 28, 2025. This is a 47%, I'm sorry, a disapproval of 50 and approval of 47. It's still pretty tight. Joe Biden still had that approval rating that was higher, 53, versus a disapproval rating of 43. So, and as I say, Biden was not, well liked or approved of, despite maybe what you think he should have had. He was not pulling down decent ratings from the standpoint of polling. But that said, Trump is really beginning to quickly, I mean, this is a remarkable drop that he's made, take on water, And one of the reasons he's taking on water is because of the economic proposals that have, I think the word is getting out. They're really troubled. The idea somehow that you could impose these tariffs, you can smack talk Mexico and Canada. These are things that, here it is, CBS News YouGov survey finding that nearly 3 in 10 respondents, 29%, said they expect the economy to be growing next year, a 5-point decline from February. The number of Americans who think the economy will be in a recession in 2025 went up 5 points, going from 23% in February to 28% this month. Approximately 21% of respondents, the same number as last month, said the economy would be slowing in 2025. So people are expecting a recession. Look at that. More and more people, by 5 points in 1 month, expecting a recession. So what does that do? It drives down consumer confidence. It drives down spending. You hang on to your money when you think there's going to be a recession or even worse. So in any case, Trump was put in office to solve these ills. Inflation was a driving reason that he got there, and he's really been a washout in that area. The dislike around Pete Hegseth is mounting. Looks to be real trouble for Hegseth. There is word out of the White House that there is more and more buzz because of this signal chat issue. This sensitive military information that was texted on that insecure platform that also included the editor-in-chief at The Atlantic. And behind the scenes, the Pentagon is actually, populated by people who are questioning Pete Hegseth. This is military leadership that he's supposed to be so good with. Officials agree National Security Advisor Mike Waltz, who accidentally invited a journalist to a group chat with senior leaders, could more easily take the fall for the scandal because it's embarrassed the administration, and that may end up sparing Hegseth's job, notes Politico. But Republican hawks and Pentagon officials and even some inside the White House now believe Hegseth also messed up by sending likely classified details from his phone. And that has the potential to undermine his credibility in this administration.
He just looks really inexperienced and silly.
That's because he is inexperienced and silly.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Now, Trump likes Hegseth a lot. He is a tough talker. He takes on the media in a tough way. He's kind of unflappable. He is a strong liar. You'll remember he comes off the plane in Hawaii and he says, it didn't happen. This is a widely discredited journalist who makes this claim about this thing. By the time he got off the plane, it already had been acknowledged. It already had been acknowledged as having happened, this signal chat thing, by the National Security Administration. So you're both out of touch and you're leaning into this lie that we all know is a lie because we're just watching the fact that the administration's already acknowledged that it happened. So then he changed his story, right? And he just continued to change his story. The next change, of course, was, well, there was nothing of an operational nature on there. This guy says that there are a bunch of operational details on there, and there weren't. Well, so that sort of forced the hand of the reporter to then reveal all of these operational details. So he continues to take on water. Waltz, I said Waltz would lose his job. I don't know if anybody loses their job in this administration because they are without shame and they don't like to fold under the pressure of a controversy, certainly. So it may not happen.
If they have someone loses their job, would it be like Trump admitting that he got it wrong?
That's kind of what I'm getting at. So I think that that may be the thing that ultimately
down and come on.
Yeah. So the last thing I'll say about Pete Hegseth is this is a guy who likes the flex. He likes to peacock about stuff. He's really about being, head of the DOD, right? He runs the military. He's got the tattoos that, reflect this Christo-fascist kind of vision of nationalist vision of America. And I just think that he wants to put it on display. And in that way, it doesn't surprise me that he is out there with, I don't have the stuff in front of me, but stand by, everything in position, the NQ-9s are in flight, targets already lined up. It's a way he's peacocking. And there'll, I think, be more of this. And Kim is right when she talks about the fact that people see him as inexperienced, because he is. I mean, this is he's really a wildly inexperienced guy running a truly immense organization. He ran a charity into the ground so badly that they had to remove him. The board of the charity removed him from power. And I have no doubt that this guy is an accident waiting to happen. We've seen one of them, and we're lucky there wasn't more a sacrifice. I'm talking about American lives, pilots. And by the way, when they talk about, and he talks about repeatedly, and this is sort of a GOP talking point now, it was such a successful mission. No one wants to talk about what a successful mission it was. I don't know that it was a successful mission. I don't believe anything these guys say. I mean, why was it a successful mission? Because you said so? And you also said that the Atlantic report was complete BS. Turned out to be completely accurate. So I'm reading more and more from those in the military and those across government who say if they ever did anything like this, they would be fired. I mean, it would be summarily fired same day. Yet all of these guys around Trump, all of these guys who are in the constellation of suck-ups to Donald Trump, they get a pass. So that's the situation with Pete Hegseth, though. He's taking on a lot of water. And what's also being noticed, last thing, is that he's making more and more mistakes like this, and it's going to overshadow everything else when it comes to Pete Hegseth. In the end, I don't think he can survive. Here it is. This episode threatens to overshadow his first big trip to the Indo-Pacific. It follows other prominent stumbles, including a walkback of his February remarks about Ukraine war negotiations in Brussels and an ill-fated effort to send thousands of detained migrants to Guantanamo Bay. Now, dozens of Democratic lawmakers are calling for Hegseth's resignation. Grassroots campaigns have sprouted up on progressive websites to investigate him. And the Senate Armed Services Committee leaders have launched a bipartisan probe into this episode. And the judge in Washington has asked that all of those communications on that signal chat be preserved, because there was a lawsuit, we spoke of this the last couple of days, regarding using this platform for any communications that are official. And the reason for that is those records belong to the American people. So even though the American people may not see them because they're classified, they do have to be kept. They have to be archived. And they're not being if they're being erased off a signal chat. So that lawsuit is continuing. That watchdog group brought that lawsuit, and now the judge is saying, hey, I want all of that stuff preserved now to see if that is stuff relevant to an archivist for the American government.
Did you hear also the new, kind of renewed focus on security has other media outlets looking at other ways that the Trump administration is falling short on securing information? And Der Spiegel I think that's a German media outlet. They were able to recover phone numbers, email addresses, in some cases passwords for accounts belonging to Mike Waltz, the National Security Advisor, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard, all from commercial databases and password leaks that are available online. So perhaps security is quite lax with these folks.
I mean, you have to know that if you're an adversary of America, and now apparently, everybody's an adversary of America since we pretty much flipped the bird to the world, you have to know that, the top officials of this administration are incredibly vulnerable. It means that the information over which they're supposed to preside, that's vulnerable as well. And so, yeah, I mean, the Venmo stuff that they got, Kim, was sort of in that same flavor. They went after their Venmo accounts were public. This is a thing about Venmo. There's a little feature in settings, and if you don't click privacy, all of your various interactions and payments are public.
Right.
And in this case, they were public. Waltz's were public. Who else is it? I want to say Hegseth's might have been as well.
Here's one of the things they say, that Der Spiegel was able to get Waltz's number and email, match it to accounts on Microsoft Teams, LinkedIn, WhatsApp, and Signal. And after they contacted Waltz on WhatsApp, both accounts went dark. So it took them to do that, and then him to go, oh, I guess that's a problem. I mean, for me, when you're talking about Venmo, I don't think if my account is set to public, no one cares that I collected money for a teacher's gift, because I'm insignificant in the national security game. But if you're the director of national intelligence, you don't want any of your payment information public. Nothing.
Well, one of the maybe you can find this, Albert or Kim. One of the Venmo records had like an eggplant emoji, a couple of eggplant. It was like it was sort of suggestive that somebody was paid for sex. You know what I mean?
Wasn't that an issue? Wasn't that an issue when Hegseth went before Congress for confirmation hearings? They found, online payments of him paying hookers or underage girls or whatever it was.
Everything's right on brand. Yeah. But again, look, you've got to have somebody who is going to enforce these laws and enforce some standard. We don't have any kind of standard being enforced. Look, the Espionage Act had suggested that this signal group discussing attack plans probably violated the Espionage Act. Yeah. And I mentioned the public records laws. You legally must retain these records. But if nobody holds them to account, then they get away with it. So it being illegal just sort of becomes a footnote. It's a troubling trend, but it's kind of where we are with this administration. So that's where we are in Pete Hegseth, though. The dislike for Pete Hegseth is mounting. The issues for him, the mistakes that he's part of, the missteps, willful, like when he's talking about Ukraine, and then the accidental when he is presiding over national security matters and then lying to the public about it. That's all beginning to stack up. And so we'll see. I think he'll survive for a while because Trump likes his fighting spirit. I think Trump really liked the fact that he fought back against the sexual abuse allegations, the payment of that woman in Monterey around that entire sexual abuse, both accusation and there was a police report filed. So Trump, I think, based on everything we know about Trump, likes the fact that a guy like Hegseth fights back against that. And indeed, he triumphed and got confirmed for many reasons that had less to do with his qualifications and more to do with the leverage that Trump had over the party. So.
The Mark Thompson Show.
It was great. I loved it.
How would you handle this? We could try ignoring it, sir.
Morning.
You cannot say you love your country.
Where are my weed smokers at?
Stay at home and get baked.
I don't know if anybody saw the latest slapdown that Marjorie Taylor Greene had with a foreign journalist, but we'll play it for Avila and Shure. Avila, the longtime White House correspondent, lead White House correspondent for ABC News. I wonder what he thinks of the way journalists are being treated these days. And Michael Shure as well has reported from all around the world in every Trump, Biden, Kamala Harris rally you can imagine. Kathleen Bryant, a big shout out to you. Thank you for the super sticker, a $20 super sticker, $19.99 goes right into
Big shout out.
a revenue stream that we desperately need to improve upon. Shelley Pollard with a $50 super sticker. Are you kidding, Shelley?
Big shout out.
Shelley could be my new favorite person, Kim. She really could be. I'm Shelley Pollard.
I'm not gonna cry. I'm not gonna cry.
Not going to cry, but I'm just going to say substantial. Thank you.
I'm not gonna cry. I'm not gonna cry.
Scott Rittenberg with a $20 super chat. Thank you, Scott. If 47 shuts down the Star Trek Enterprise exhibit because Stacey Abrams played a role as the president of the Earth in the 33rd century, I will definitely march and protest. Wow. Yeah. That's a... Look, Smithsonian first, Star Trek Museum second. Daniel for the $50 super chat. Thank you, Daniel. Thank you all for your commitment to providing us with sanity in insane times. Thank you, my friend. Daniel, big shout out to you.
Big shout out.
Really appreciate it and appreciate the support. You know, we're an independent media platform, so we really depend on our viewers, and we're crowd-funded. So those in the crowd who fund, we make a big deal out of. West Theory with a $5 super sticker, one of the OGs.
Big shout out.
Yeah, big shout out. What is wrong with you? Another excellent drop from Kim. Oh, did she say that this morning? What is wrong with you? You're right. Yes, she said it in the first half hour. So Trevor, if Trevor Starr in Hollywood can isolate that and send it to me, we will include it. What is wrong with you? Absolutely terrific. Great, great catch. Who caught that? Whoever caught that is really on it. That was really good. Yeah, we'll get to if this stuff, who said this, Frank? If this stuff wasn't serious, it would be hilarious, be beyond hilarious. Exactly. I mean, this is just the gang that couldn't shoot straight. I mean, it is truly effed up, and there's scary stuff ahead. I will discuss next week, the whole Curtis Yarvin monarchist CEO plan to dismantle government is what's being pursued by these people. It's serious. And there are things we can do to stop it. And right now, the courts are stopping a little bit of the bleeding, but we'll have to see how everything proceeds from here. This has only been the first 2 months. Corey Pearson's Spy World says, the honeymoon's over and the pattern's crystal clear. Pete's not built for the pressure cooker. When Pentagon brass start whispering, the exit signs light up fast. Yeah, I think this is interesting, this point you make, because it is true that the Pentagon is where you're hearing more and more rumblings about this guy not being up for it, that Hegseth is just in so far over his head. And there'll be more and more evidence of this. We've just cited a few in the last few months, right? But he is so far over his head that we're going to, I think, see way, way more of this. So, all right, we have Michael Shure. Hi, Courtney is here. And Courtney, if I can just mention this, Courtney is ecstatic about, we have these plumbers, Kim, they're amazing, right? And we mentioned them to people on the show because they offered actually our listeners a 10% discount. And they didn't give us any discount. It wasn't like a thing that we were getting a discount for mentioning them, but it was really a cool thing. It was one day Rooter and Plumbing. It continues to be one day Rooter and Plumbing. So putting them up there again, they're bonded, they're licensed, and therefore Southern California. So if you're in LA County or Orange County, they're the stop for you. But the reason I'm mentioning them now is because we had another plumbing issue.
Oh, no.
No, but these guys came in and they handled it like a SWAT team.
Yeah.
They were unbelievable. Isn't that right? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Hi, Kim.
Hi.
We had no hot water like a week.
For days. We have one of those so we have a waterless a tankless water heater, okay?
Right.
And it's a special system, right? The Navian system.
it's special because it never works.
So the thing about the Navian system is you have to be certified on it. So we love these plumbers, but we didn't think they might be certified for a Navian system.
Yeah.
So Courtney calls them at One Day Rooter and Plumbing. And what does he say? He says,
He's like, oh, yeah, I'm trained in it. Yeah,
he said, I'm
absolutely.
certified.
Yeah.
I'm certified for Navian.
So,
now, you have
shows
to go,
up same day.
You have to go through a whole course thing to be certified in Navian. He is certified. So he comes out, opens the thing up, and goes, oh, yeah, this is probably what the problem is, blah, 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 blah. I got to order a part.
Yeah, and then he had it fixed within like 2 days. The only lag was that the part had to be ordered and shipped in because it's slightly older model. I mean, it was crazy. They were so wonderful and accommodating and affordable.
I'm telling you, and affordable. That's right. It wasn't expensive.
They're not. Yeah.
One Day Rooter and Plumbing.com. Check them out, guys. What?
You don't usually hear the words plumber and affordable in the same sentence.
I'm telling you, we love these guys. I mean, they really are great. So anyway, we scream it from the rooftops.
Yeah.
One Day Rooter and Plumbing.com. Go there, and if you're in touch with them, I'm sure they would give our listeners the 10% discount.
Oh, yeah,
I'm sure they'd give it to you. So
definitely.
mention our show. If you know people in Southern California, in LA County or in Orange County, tell them to call these people and mention our show, The Mark Thompson Show, and you'll get a 10% discount. But that is our latest success story.
Yes.
So we have hot water again.
Finally.
Yeah, it's really good. And next week, you're going to give us an update on merch and stuff like that, right?
I am. That was a nice segue. Yeah.
Well, I'm just saying.
But yeah, no, we're working on the merch.
We're changing our merch. Anyway. All right. Thank you, Courtney.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
Thank you, Courtney.
Everyone.
Good to chat.
All right.
The Mark Thompson Show.
All right. Let's quickly, Albert, I believe we have to do some Florida. Am I right? We started as a radio show in San Francisco, California on KGO Radio, and then a broadcast conglomerate that owned all of these radio stations had KGO Radio, got rid of KGO Radio despite the fact that we were doing very well with the show. So we took the whole show here, and certain things that we did on the show, we have kind of brought them over, kind of our legacy segments. We've brought them over. Chunk of Trump is one of them. Law and Disorder is another one. Stories from the Sky is a third. And another is this next segment. It focuses quickly and brutally on the world of Florida. This is Friday Fabulous Florida.
It's time for Friday Fabulous Florida.
There is a gigantic alligator in my kitchen.
A look at the weirdest stories from our weirdest state.
Oh, you're muted. And are you there, Mark? You're muted. While you do with that, I'll do this. Richard Delamater, for $5 super chat. Has anyone noticed we never have seen a picture of Courtney? I'd bet my lunch she's an A. An AI. She's an A and an AI, as a matter of fact. No, she appears.
I'm sorry, this computer is giving me issues.
Yeah, you're stalling out. Are you there anymore?
Yeah, let me leave and come back in. In.
Thank you, Richard, for the $5. And yes, I will attest that Courtney is real. We have had cocktails together, and she is 100% real. So we do know that. We have a great Friday Fabulous Florida plan for you today. As a matter of fact, we just had the open. So as Mark leaves and comes back in, I'll explain the Friday Fabulous Florida rules. They are that you have to hear the stories and then pick your favorite. So we'll ask you at the end of Friday Fabulous Florida to select your favorite story. And sometimes, if we're lucky, we get a mugshot that we get to rate as well, 1 to 10. And it's all up to you as far as which criteria you use.
Sorry, guys. There are computer issues all morning here, and obviously more developed. Can you hear me now? Is it all right?
I can. Everything sounds great.
Albert, did Friday Fabulous Florida start with a little bit of a herky-jerky thing, or was that just on my end?
I think that was just on your end. You're starting to your computer was starting to slow down a little bit.
Okay, cool. All right, so let's get started. Florida man dressed as clown taken down by officers for allegedly trespassing. This guy really is dressed as a clown. Albert shows it to you now. You can see kind of a Ronald McDonald type clown for those who are just listening.
Definitely looks McDonald's-y.
Yeah, exactly. It was in Palm Bay. He refused to leave a shopping plaza despite a previous blanket trespass. Apparently, he had been, I guess, guilty of trespassing before. Yeah, his booking photo is not that flattering. Christopher Marlowe is his name. Actually, I love that name. But his booking photo, which we always rate here on the show, on a 10 scale, I'm going to give it a 5. What about, is that too generous?
I don't know what criteria to use here, because on one hand, it's definitely like a 2, but on the, if you just look at he's a clown and he was arrested, what he was arrested for, it has to be pretty high up, because that's a hell of a photo. I'm going to give it a 7.5.
Wow. How about that? Wow. Kim has met her man who she wants to clown around with, 40-year-old Christopher Marlowe.
Oh, gross.
He wouldn't leave the area. They threw him to the ground and charged him with trespassing. And now he is doing his clowning in private. Earrings worth $769,500 recovered by Florida cops after the alleged thief did what with them? He swallowed them, everybody. Yes. Orlando cops have recovered 2 sets of earrings worth a combined $769,500 after the thief swallowed them. It took 2 weeks for Jathan Gilder, 32, after swallowing the Tiffany & Company diamond earrings, to pass them through his system.
Way of saying it.
Yeah.
2 weeks. He has a slow digestive system.
Yeah, more than 12 days, they said.
Wow.
And he faces charges of robbery with a mask and grand theft in the first degree. There he is. I don't know if that's a booking photo. You feel free to offer a rating.
Couldn't find a booking photo, but he did pose to be an NBA assistant. So obviously a lot of NBA players down there. That's how he gained access.
He was trying to be an NBA assistant with this very high-end jewelry that he I see. So he got into Tiffany saying he was an NBA player assistant, and that's how he got access to the high-end jewelry in a VIP room at Tiffany & Company in Orlando. And then after employees were distracted, he got away with these earrings and a diamond ring valued at $587,000. He fled the store, and when officers caught up with him later that day, they saw him swallowing several objects believed to be the stolen earrings.
Ooh, it's a wild idea, but it just might work.
Might have worked, but he
Deborah makes a great point. Imagine the person who had to retrieve them. Like, what a job. Ew, and no.
Albert, did you show them the x-ray? There's actually an x-ray, and they are visible in the x-ray. They x-rayed him, and in his abdomen, the foreign object and objects are inside. It's it's further down in that story if you get it.
Ron makes a great point. Hey, ladies, who wants these rocks in your ear now? No. No, thank you.
You can see a little bit of it. Oh, there it is. Albert's got it up there. Yeah. So it was, well, I like a good caper, but that one didn't quite work out. And finally, a kayaker in Florida finds himself stuck on the back of an alligator. Usually a person accidentally coming within inches of an alligator goes into a panic. But a Florida kayaker who not only saw an alligator, but the kayak actually got stuck on this alligator, had a different take. Calmly whipping out the camera to document this predicament. I'm literally stuck on it, he said, pointing his camera at the swampy water. Yeah. The alligator's head pops out. You can see it. It's still for a few moments, the alligator is. And then take a look. You can see. There's the alligator's head emerging from the boat. Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's scary.
But the alligator kind of is cool about it until he decides he's trying to get out from under the boat, and he does.
That's a huge gator.
That really is that's a big creature.
He's taking
enormous.
His back's like picking the boat up.
Yeah, there it is.
Wow.
Yeah. Guy was cool, though. Kayaker was pretty cool through the whole thing.
Cool.
Anyway, we need to...
Cool, much cooler than I would have been. I would have been losing it.
Yeah, I wouldn't have been in kayaking in alligator-infested waters to begin with, I don't think. We need to pick a favorite. We don't like to pick a favorite, but it's in the bylaws of the show. Just to remind you, the Florida man dressed as a clown taken down by officers for trespassing. The earrings worth $769,500 recovered by Florida cops after the thief swallows them. And the kayaker in Florida finding himself stuck on the back of an alligator. We need to pick a favorite. What is your favorite, please, Kim?
I'm going with gator. How do you not? Gator on the back of a boat? Come on, that's Florida.
Gator on the back of a boat is very Florida.
Boat on the back of a gator. Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, yeah. Boat on the back of a gator. It's funny. I got to tell you, I know it's not Florida, but I just love the heist plan where the guy goes in, he's posing as an NBA assistant, he gets all of these jewels and pops them on down into his stomach in this Orlando Tiffany and Company and has to wait 12 days to get them out. I don't know. I'm going with that. I'm going with the wild idea guy. Albert, what leads in the chat, and then tell me what your favorite is, please.
Yeah, the chat loves the kayak gator. The guy eating the earrings sounds very prison. I feel like that's something you do. Just think something in that way. But I have to go with the kayak gator too.
Yeah. Kayak gator seems to be the winner. Yeah, bravo. That's Friday Fabulous Florida for today.
This has been Friday Fabulous Florida.
There is a gigantic alligator in my kitchen.
Y'all come back now here.
I am excited about the boys coming through. That's, of course, I'm talking about Jim Avila and Michael Shure, but I'm also excited about a cup of Coachella Valley coffee. This is fine, hand-roasted coffee. My God. It's so good. I can't tell you. It's hard for me not to continue to just drink coffee on this show and not even bother with it. CoachellaValleyCoffee.com. You must try it if you haven't. It is the best coffee on earth. I was drinking it before they were ever sponsors on the show, and I encourage you to get, I think probably the best values might be in the like 2-pound bags or whatever. You can knock around there, but it's a boutique roastery, okay? So this isn't stuff that's been lying around a warehouse for a few months. You can find a lot of discount beans on the internet. This is all organic from women-owned farms, hand-roasted coffee and teas that are specific and wonderful, meaning they take great pride in all of the tasting notes associated with all of their products, coffees, teas. They have loose leaf, they have bag teas, and our audience has been great in the feedback I've gotten about how over the moon you guys are for it. So do check it out. But when you do, get our discount. 10% discount for anybody who watches this show, who mentions this show, and you'll use the discount code MARK-T. That's how you mention it. MARK-T at checkout, and you get 10% off. Anything on the site. You get coffee, tea, merch, whatever you want. 10% off at checkout with MARK-T. So go for it. It's we think it. Kim says it right when she says it's a slice of heaven in your cup. By the way, speaking of heaven, I've got a before the guys get here. Can I
great. Yeah, please.
The Mark Thompson Show.
Before the guys get here, I wanted to. Did I send you the video, right, Albert, of the Trump administration holy woman or whatever you'd call her. Is she I don't know what she is. She's some pastor, preacher, you know what I'm talking about? Where she's pitching for money and she's selling like places with angels. I think guardian angels, as I recall. Oh, you got it. Here it is. This is it. Just listen a little. This is, I ran across this and I had to share it because this is to me.
Evangelist Theater?
We used to do a segment on the radio called Televangelist Theater. This falls into this craziness that is associated with televangelism. Go ahead, Albert.
Starting on April 12th at sundown through Good Friday on the 18th and concluding on Easter Sunday, you can receive these 7 supernatural blessings for you and your house. According to Exodus 23, God will assign an angel to you. He'll be an enemy to your enemies. He'll give you prosperity. He'll take sickness away from you. He will give you long life. He'll bring increase in inheritance, and he'll give a special year of blessing. You're not doing this to get something, but you're doing it in honor to God, realizing what you can receive.
For your special Passover offering of $1,000 or more as the Holy Spirit leads, you will also receive the beautiful 10-inch Waterford Crystal Cross. Don't miss your moment to release 7 supernatural blessings and provision into your life.
I'm sick that I didn't get a chance to audition for the voiceover for that.
That is crazy.
In addition to your crystal cross for this Easter, here's a chance to get your own guardian angel, $1,000.
Wow.
But, again, the guardian angel only covers you through Easter, and then you got to re-up, every month. It's kind of like, it's like DoorDash. You know what I mean?
You're not doing it to get something, she says. Right. No, not doing it to buy a slice of heaven, just doing it to give you $1,000 with nothing in return.
The 7 blessings of Passover can be yours, all 7 for $1,000.
Crazy.
Buy them individually for $250 a piece, or all 7 for $1,000.
And there are people that will.
Oh my God, yes. I mean, they're not doing this because people don't buy them. Vilma says, I'll give you 1,000 blessings for $500 for Easter. Yeah. Gosh, it is truly, it's unreal.
Is selling blessings, would that be considered sacrilegious?
You'd think.
I mean, I just, if you're a real Christian and you're paying for blessings, does that not throw up a red flag for you?
It's sadly all of
when it hits your bank account, Kim, all of it goes out of the window. It's all just oh wow, this is great.
All I care about are the blessings. Okay,
all
great blessings hitting your bank account.
Yeah. All right. So, did you you sent links to both these guys to Shure and Avila? Yeah.
I'll send them again though.
If they don't make it by, I'll get through some additional stuff. You got a lot of stuff still to go.
Yeah, we do.
There is. Here we go. I think one of them. Yeah, Michael Shure. Yeah. But this is what happens when you don't pay anybody. They just kind of drift through. At a
It's all right. We'll take him when they come.
Oh my God, I'll take.
I'll take Michael Shure any day of the week. Anytime he wants to come on, he gets to come.
Me too. Yeah. Here he is. He's forgotten more about politics than most of us will ever even know. Michael Shure, everybody.
Yeah. Sorry, guys. In typical Florida man way, I couldn't get my computer to start, and
I see.
Issues, so. Wow. So I will give you a refund on my.
Yeah. Well, you got here just in time because we're in the middle of Mark's Madness, as you know. We picked.
Yes, I know that. Yeah.
And you're here in time for us to at least share. Albert, I think we should. Isn't it true? Commish, you run it, but shouldn't I establish the?
Yeah, for this hour.
All right.
Now, Mark's Madness.
All right, so you'll vote in the posts section of our YouTube channel, either for
I love Tesla,
or
Doesn't anybody bet a weed?
Oh, weed goes up against Tesla. All right, again, you'll vote either for
I love Tesla,
or
Doesn't anybody bet a weed?
Anybody bit of weed. Vote until midnight tonight in the post section of our YouTube channel, and good luck. And already, Tesla seems to be taking out weed in the early going, but it's still too early. We're not calling this race. There is voting until midnight tonight for both last hour and this hour. Again, last hour it was You Just Don't Get It. You
just don't get it, do you?
Yeah, right.
You don't.
Right. That went up against Judge Judy. And
Listen to me.
Yeah.
I don't want to hear you.
And in that competition, I can tell you, You Just Don't Get It is beating out Judge Judy, 68% to 32%. Again, voting until midnight, but that seems pretty dominant.
And Tesla has slipped a little bit now. Looks like
Tesla in very early voting, it's a 60% for the weed and only 40% for the Tesla.
Stop to recharge, which is the problem.
Yeah, I see. Hey, Michael, I want to play something for you. It was an exchange because you've been in so many different reporter environments. You've been in you've covered the Trump rallies, you've covered the Kamala Harris rallies, you've covered COVID wards, you've covered, Central American elections. I feel like you've really done a bunch. And
Biden rallies? No, I'm kidding.
The world of reporters and the press corps is changing with smack talk coming from politicians like Marjorie Taylor Greene, who has, I think, insinuated herself on the scene in a lot of different ways. And this most recent exchange, I just want to get your reaction. She's talking to a journalist from Britain. Go ahead, Albert, please.
Anybody else?
Should the Defense Secretary
What country are you? Wait, what country are you
from?
from?
The UK?
Okay, we don't give a crap about your opinion and your reporting.
House Republican member Marjorie Taylor Greene lashed out at a Sky News correspondent, Martha Kellner, when she asked about the Signal Group chat controversy.
Why don't you go back to your country where you have a major migrant problem?
Okay,
And no. You should care about your own borders.
Do you care
No.
about American lives being put at risk?
Let me tell you something. Do you care about people from your country? What about all the women that are raped by migrants?
Do you care
No,
about
by migrant. No, do you care? Okay, you're done.
Do you care about American lives being put at risk?
You know what? I don't
about
care.
service members fighting for your country.
I don't care
and
about your
vice
fake
president?
news.
The congresswoman from Georgia then called on an American journalist, but the reporter redirected her back to Kellner's original question.
Do you have a relevant question? Yeah, this is an American journalist. Thank you.
I'm an American, and I'd like to hear your answer to what she's asked.
I'm not answering her question because I don't care about her network. If you would like to ask, I can answer.
Kellner reflected on the incident during an appearance on a Sky News podcast, saying she was, quote, aggressively insulted.
Does that happen to you
so
often?
that gives you a snapshot of it. Michael, tell me what your reaction is to I don't need to see the. Tell me what your thoughts are about the way that sort of I don't know. I guess she is maybe an outlier, or do you see more of this? I see more of this sort of aggressive handling of media.
I mean, I think that you do see more aggressive handling of media. It came in the first Trump presidency from the podium in the Brady press room. I do think, though, that Greene is an outlier or among a couple of outliers. This is ugly. Most of it is impatient and authoritarian that you get from other people. It's that just don't have patience for the press in the same way a coach or a baseball manager sometimes doesn't have patience for the press. This is ugly. This is personal. This is jingoistic. This is the worst of what they call America First. But I don't think that it's pervaded. I don't think you see it from many more people than Marjorie Taylor Greene, and she makes a fool of herself with it, and the press will prevail over that. You even saw it in a small way there, in a micro way there, with the reporter who she deferred to because he was American, who said he wanted to ask the question that Kellner was asking. So I don't take anything she says terribly seriously, and the circus that surrounds her. I think some people go to those press conferences and go to her events just because they know the circus will ensue. So shame on them. And I'm not saying Kellner is one of those people. And Greene has a role in Congress and a subcommittee chair's role. And so I do think that there's reason to cover her because of her position. But other than that, I don't see this as epidemic.
That's a really good point you make, that maybe the circus that follows her becomes the shiny object. And so the press can be, anyway, as you say, not saying that this incident was part of it, but the press can sort of become co-conspirators in all of this. Let me ask you about
I do know that the next time I go to a press conference with her, I'm going to say, Representative Green, can you tell us what the story is with the Oversight Committee this morning? And just like really go at it, but no.
Look, let's get to this intelligence breach through the Signal chat. There's been a lot of talk at the Pentagon now for the first time. I mean, at least the word is getting out through various reporting. The New York Times had a piece about how there is the refusal, essentially, on the part of Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, which those are words I really thought I'd never have to choke out, that his refusal to acknowledge that he should not have disclosed the sensitive information regarding the Yemen attack. That's really angered military officials and on air bases and in aircraft carriers, and apparently there is a buzz about this. Now, he has great, as you know, support from the president. He likes the kind of attack dog style, I'm guessing, that Pete Hegseth brings to the press room and to various controversies. He doesn't back down. He doesn't apologize. That is something that Trump, I think, admires in him, and he can certainly throw Waltz under the bus on this one, and that may protect Hegseth. But I wonder if you can speak to the fact that Hegseth is taking on some water these days.
Yeah, he will take on water until it matters to Trump, and Trump nominated him knowing what he brought and what his resume was, and how he was, I think, in over his head to begin with, and I think people see that, and I think it speaks more to the senators like Joni Ernst, who had reservations but still voted for him, who confirmed him. The Republican Senate has his smear on them for confirming him in the way that they did. Will he take on water? He'll take on water as soon as Donald Trump says that he's not happy with it. I think the rank and file in the Defense Department probably looked at Hegseth askance anyway. I don't think that this is going to bring Hegseth down, but I do think that there will likely be a lot of hesitation on the part of people within the military construct who are going to have difficulty with Hegseth and maybe not bring him into the room. I also think that he delegated here, and because he is the Secretary of Defense, which ranks higher than Michael Waltz, I think that Michael Waltz they tried to have it be Waltz who took on all of the water, as it were, here, and that didn't work. So it's starting to trickle onto Hegseth. I happen to think he'll escape it, but I think that he doesn't have many more shots at it. He's got 2 strikes on him.
Put another way, sort of what I'm getting from you is you feel like the stink hasn't quite gotten on Trump, but when he smells it, when it gets close enough, then Trump will discharge him or figure out a way to get rid of him.
No question. And one thing that is going to bring the president to a great place of frustration is he's very good at distracting, right? He's very good at moving off of the top story. So he put in these auto tariffs. He's sending the Vances to Greenland. It's not working. We're still in the headlines talking about this Signal chat that happened. And that has got to be frustrating the hell out of the president. I mean, there was a devastating earthquake, which spent a little bit of time on the headlines overnight, and then it's right back to this Signal chat and what people at the Pentagon are saying, what people in the military are saying. It's not going away. And that's the thing that could get to Trump at some point if this thing just sticks. He needs the Republicans in the Senate and on the Hill to say, oh, this is nothing, and to continue saying that. The longer it lingers, it's going to be more difficult for them to do that.
Let me look toward the deportations that seem to be taking on an aggressive kind of face.
Yeah.
The Venezuelans who were sent to El Salvador, many of them gang members, presumably. I mean, that's what we hear, but there was no due process that would establish whether or not they were. We know of 3 that likely weren't or arguably weren't. And it's a tragedy, I think, on a human scale that you're taking people who have no history of violence or even connection to these gangs, and you're forcibly removing them from the U.S., that part, there should be due process associated with, and then you're transporting them to this notorious prison in El Salvador. Can you speak to this process? And then I'll get to, the Russian medical researcher at Harvard who was taken off the street, and the Tufts University PhD student, et cetera. Go ahead.
Yeah. Those are hideous as well, and so I'm glad we'll talk about them. Due process is something that this administration and Tom Homan at Homeland Security, they don't seem interested at all in due process, and so it's going to have to be tested in the courts. And it'll be interesting to see if these deportation flights and the appeal that went to the Supreme Court on that, how the court is the high court is going to react to it, because you can do what the administration's doing and you can say there's no due process, these are bad people, you can lump them all together. But historically, when you do that or anything like it, you've got the courts in front of you, and the courts are going to say, no, you can't do that. So they're testing the courts. But, and again, I mean, we're looking at this picture here of Kristi Noem, and down in front of this cell with these men who have tattoos, and having tattoos does not mean you're guilty of anything. And many of them may be guilty of lots of things, but you can't, even if they are, they're entitled to due process in this country. And even through the immigration courts, they are. And so it's going to be a test of the courts. And I think Trump is trying to be very sort of provocative with the courts. And maybe it's his, everything is about vengeance with him. And maybe it's about, that's part of the vengeance tour because of how he felt wronged by the courts himself. Be that as it may, the courts are going to be what is the only thing that can stand in the way of this sort of thing. And they're going to interpret the Constitution the way they will. But due process is a big part of the Constitution. And I think that they're going to have to answer for it.
Yeah, this is such a critical decision. Probably, as you suggest, he's going to test the court. So this may be one of many. But this Alien Enemies Act and its applicability here is something that really is going to be quickly ruled upon. But meantime, you have people who, maybe complete innocents who are, who are part of this crew that was deported to Venezuela. And even those, it's really tragic.
And that picture of Noam, again, like standing in front, I don't even know if that's a real picture, but I mean, this is what, I don't know if she was there or if that's something that was put together. AI.
Well, I know I've seen that too about AI or whatever, but I've seen subsequent, I don't mean to interrupt. Go ahead.
The picture they're showing is a picture of people that they want you to think are bad people.
Right. And what I was going to say is that there is video of her touring. Here it is, of her in front of the of these prison cells, and her meeting with officials there at the prison cells in El Salvador, this notorious prison. And so, again, this was all put out officially. There's the U.S. government.
And this is a prison that is run by an authoritarian, Bukele, in El Salvador. So we are now sort of, I guess, trumpeting the work of an imprisoning dictator in a third world country. And that's not where the United States generally has found themselves.
A Russian medical researcher at Harvard is being detained at a Louisiana immigration facility, and this is a notorious immigration facility as well, as you know, Michael, after her visa was revoked last month over undeclared frog embryo samples found in her luggage. Ksenia Petrova has been in the United States on a J-1 scholar visa since May of 2023. She's working at Harvard. Her lawyer said that Petrova is fighting the possible deportation back to Russia for fear of persecution and jail time over her protests decrying the Ukraine war. She returned from France to Logan Airport in Boston from a work trip, passed through immigration without issue, but while waiting for her luggage, 2 Customs and Border Patrol people took her into a room to inspect her luggage and searched her phone. Inside, they found a bag of frog embryos from her research. Quote, they find a scientific sample of frog embryos that she was bringing at the request of her principal investigator, her professor at Harvard, from the lab in France that they are collaborating with. She had in her luggage, and she did not declare it, She had no previous experience with bringing samples, said the quote goes on, and she didn't really think this through. She didn't look up the requirements. It was her fault. She was supposed to declare that item, and she did not. So typically the penalty for this is forfeiture of the item, Michael, and a fine of about $500. She's looking at this far more egregious kind of punishment.
Anybody who watches To Catch a Smuggler on TV like I do and has a DVR knows that, you're supposed to declare any kind of agriculture and wildlife. So I think that, it was a mistake. But like you said, all they do, or whether it was a mistake or intentional, the penalty is goodbye to the frog embryos and give us like $495, and that's it. But this is, but that's not, if you're against the war in Ukraine, then it changes it somehow. I mean, this is the country where you're supposed to be able to say you oppose the war in Ukraine, or you're in favor of the war in Ukraine. Either one, you're allowed to say here. And that's what's happening here. And they're singling people out because of things that they have said. I mean, it's very, very blacklisty. It's very McCarthyism. It's McCarthyism in a way, not just in a way. It's real McCarthyism. You're finding people who said things or wrote things, and you're telling them they can't be here. This is where you can be, actually, if you want to say those things. You might not be able to be in North Korea or Russia and say those things, but here in America, you can say those things. You can support, as a PhD student in Tufts did, you can support Hamas. You can say that you're in favor of Hamas and you support Hamas and you support the Palestinians. You're allowed to say that. Doesn't make you right, but it certainly doesn't make you ripe for deportation and arrest by undercover agents in the middle of the street. I mean, it's
right. That's what happened with the PhD candidate Tufts.
Yeah,
sure, exactly. And it goes on. I mean, you're right. These continue to be informed by political discourse as opposed to any kind of substantive other reason to deport these people. And also, again, due process has completely left the building. I mean, it's crazy. I mean, these people should have the chance to make their case, particularly these people. I mean, Trump talks about, who he wants, the best of the world coming here. And these people are the best of the world. I mean,
exactly. That's exactly right. If you want to make America great again, have these researchers here helping our American institutions of higher learning exceed what they're doing now and to excel. And again, you've got to, you're free to support the Palestinians in this country. You're allowed to do that. You don't have to, not everybody has to agree with you for doing it either. And you also have to, peacefully allow the people who do not support the Palestinians to not support the Palestinians. But you cannot be arrested on the street because you do. It's unheard of.
Well, 2.5 months ago, and going back to the researcher, declaring the outrage of the Russia invasion of Ukraine would have been celebrated by the administration in power, right? Then Trump comes to power. Now he's in bed with Russia. And all of a sudden, that's the thing that gets you booted out. I mean, it's here's another thing that's happening at the federal. There she is doing her research. I think this is just an ongoing tragedy. It starts with the Venezuelans, many innocents who were scooped up, and it continues, as Michael says, informed by politics, informed by political speech that used to be protected in this country. President Trump signing an executive order yesterday. It just happened late yesterday, Michael, limiting numerous agency employees from unionizing at the federal level and instructing the government to stop engaging in any collective bargaining. I mean, he is basically union busting at the federal level. And an accompanying, go ahead, please.
No, you keep going.
I was going to say, in an accompanying fact sheet from the White House, they lay out the rationale for the move. They say that civil service reform acts of the 1978, which allowed government workers to unionize, quote, enable hostile federal unions to obstruct agency management. Quote, President Trump is taking action to ensure that agencies vital to national security can execute their missions without delay and protect the American people. It's always about protecting the American people, Michael, but this really is straight up union busting.
Yeah, it's union busting. That's all it is union busting. He's screwing over so many Americans right now. His policies are from the byproducts of his policies, right? I mean, who's going to visit America? Already Canadians are saying that they're not coming to this country. A lot of foreigners don't want to because of how, he's treating their nations because of tariffs. And then you get to this union thing, which is not only sort of self-sabotaging the country, it's self-sabotaging his base. Because were it not for many white male union members, most especially, but not exclusively, moving to the Republican Party in 2024 and the last election, he would not have been reelected. And in certain states where it mattered, Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, to see union busting happening is about the last thing that you would imagine the Republican Party wants to see their party do, even though they're tacitly for union busting. To do it in such an overt way, especially after laying off so many workers and seeing the unemployment numbers, which will go inevitably up, I can't understand the political calculus there. He might not care either because he's not going to run again. He has no great affinity for J.D. Vance, and if Vance is associated with his administration, he probably doesn't care. Maybe he is looking out for his son in some way, but this is bad politics for the Republicans as well. It's not typical union busting. It is blanket union busting, and that's bad.
Does he have the ability through executive order to bust this union like this? The union of federal workers?
I don't know the answer to that question, but I know that he, when you have, you're in charge of all of the government departments, you can again say that you're not allowing your workers to organize, and then the workers, by the way, if anyone knows how to organize, it's union workers. They can organize class action suits, and they can take this to the Supreme Court as well and to the lower court. So again, this is what we were talking about earlier. This is provocation to litigation, and that's what Trump likes to do.
There's something happening at the Panama Canal. This was sent to me by one of our listener viewers, and I want to thank them for pushing this my way. Panama has canceled the registrations of dozens of ships that were sanctioned. These are Russian ships, okay? And this is potentially, it delivers a blow to Russian oil exports. Apparently, the Panama Maritime Authority is in the process of canceling the registration of 128 ships, Michael. It's part of a clampdown on blacklisted vessels. This is reported by Bloomberg. They say that the move is part of a crackdown on vessels that help Russia circumvent Western sanctions on oil exports through a shadow fleet linked to Moscow. Sanctions were imposed to punish Russia, of course, for its full-scale invasion of Ukraine, and so this is the ripple effect, quite literally, into the Panama Canal. UK Friends of Ukraine, which is part of a campaign led by another group, calling for tougher measures against Russia and fossil fuel exports to Russia, says they welcome Panama's move. These are fossil fuel exports, I think, from Russia. In other words, they're on shadow. This is my take on it anyway, just getting it. So yeah. I'm just wondering, this is a different layer that is in this Panama conflict, and I mention it in the context of Trump's focus on the Panama Canal, which he started from the very first hours that he was president. Do you have any thoughts, A, on his obsession with the Panama Canal, and B, on how this, as I say, this other layer of sanctioned vessels being kept out of the Panama Canal might have an effect on his disposition?
Yeah, I don't, obviously I haven't read it. I've only heard what you've said about it. So I want to just disclaim that I don't know enough about it. But my gut takes on it, since you're asking, are the first question is, why his fascination with the Panama Canal? I think that Trump wants to build, he fancies himself an empire builder in a way. And he's looking at parts of the world that are vulnerable, the renaming of the Gulf of Mexico, the conquering of Greenland, the development of the Gaza Strip, all of these things. There's not much land out there to conquer in the world right now, and certainly not the kind that he would want to do. And so I think that informs a little bit of this. And also, I think when it comes to the Panama Canal, in this sort of America first way that he positions himself, I think you find that he is someone who will look for any opportunity to look at Democratic losses. And it was Jimmy Carter who ceded the Panama Canal in what was a great deal for both countries at the time. Now, moving on to the reasons that this is happening now, I mean, it could be because the Panamanians, who still control the canal and will probably in perpetuity, want to needle Trump. And they know that they can needle Trump by going after Russian oil. And by if they want to be upset with the way Russia has treated Ukraine and be independent of the American president, who they don't like because he's trying to conquer their canal, what a perfect way to do it. And that would be what my first read is.
That's really interesting. They do have that power, this is the last thing I want to get to. I just want to show you this video because, you've seen
before sports.
Oh, before. Yeah. The way that while Rome is burning, other crap is going on in the congressional halls and on the floor was really called out by Congresswoman Melanie Stansbury. And it's pretty terrific to see her speech. Albert, give us a little bit of it, if you would. This is, again, Congresswoman Melanie Stansbury on the floor of the House.
Mr. Speaker, I think insanity is a good word for what's happening here on the House floor today. Another good word is bizarre. When I go home and I tell my constituents what happens in these halls, they're amazed. And today is one of those days where I'm like, what the hell are these folks doing? Because while our economy is in crisis, while groceries and housing are at an all-time high, while our veterans and our firefighters and our teachers are being illegally fired, while Elon Musk is dismantling the U.S. Department of Education, and while the Secretary of Defense is trying to cover up the most incompetent national security leak I have ever heard of in my life, the Republicans in the House are trying to save the American people from the scourge of walk-in cooler and refrigeration efficiency standards. That's right. We are here wasting precious debate time on the U.S. House of Representatives floor, debating, dismantling efficiency standards for walk-in refrigerators. How out of touch are you with the American people? Like, literally, I know you're not holding town halls and meeting with your constituents anymore, but you think that the American people voted for you to waste our time on refrigeration standards? That's what you think you were elected to do? Literally, how out of touch are you? Because no American voted. No American, I don't care where you are on the ideological spectrum, you did not vote for this. This is ridiculous, it's preposterous, and it's just stupid.
Well, she's so very right. And once in a while, something like that does go viral and makes the point. But you know this world so well. Speak to this.
You want to talk about walk-in fridges, I'm guessing, right? I think these speeches are great, and in a world where things do go viral and where a lot of people get their politics from social media and they share it, this is really great. But it's being shared to people who agree with it, and the problem with being in the minority, the practical problem with being in the minority on Capitol Hill, is you can say these things and they don't matter, but they should matter. And I think that there are some members of Congress who will, glom onto this. It's not going to change very much, unfortunately. But when they take over the Congress in 2026, should they win the House back, you can tell what their priorities are going to be. And this is a way to show that you are angry with what's going on. And I think it's an answer to the Democratic base who are saying, why are you guys not doing anything, right? Why are you just standing there? And they're not. And these little vignettes help to prove that they're not just standing there.
I mean, if you look at it that way, Michael, that it's really a clarion call to the Democrats. it's not about actually making a difference in any other way with the opposition.
That's a good point. Yeah, that's a very good point. I mean, and that's what it is. It's to say we're here fighting, and it's not just Melanie Stansbury. It's probably the person who got up before or after her as well. They are fighting with rhetoric, with organizing, with trying to craft a message. It doesn't happen overnight. And by the way, nobody expected this kind of chaos. Even the people who knew Trump. I think nobody expected this kind of chaos in the first 60 days of his administration. So it's a lot to react to. We have, I mean, in California, there are fires, right? Nobody expected the kind of fire that happened in Southern California in January. So it takes a while to react to that and to figure out how to get out of it. It's the same thing here. And there will be people working like Melanie Stansbury from New Mexico all the time on that.
They definitely unleashed the hounds in this first couple of months of this administration, but and it's wild to, while that's going on, hear of the absurdity of. I mean, the House, of course, wants to do anything in control of the GOP, but talk about the things that that she's referenced, right? I mean, the House doesn't want it. They want to pretend that nothing's going on. I mean,
right. And by the way, the Republican House is frustrated too because they've been sort of marginalized. Because the courts are the branch of government that's getting all the attention right now, and the Senate, to a certain degree, is getting that, and so they're frustrated too. The Senate majority is bigger, so they can do things more easily in the Senate than they can in the House. So a lot of what's happening in the House, even though the Speaker is Republican and the leadership's Republican, the majority is Republican, the Republicans are feeling pretty marginalized for a majority.
All right, it's time, as we do with every visit with Michael Shure, for 48 seconds of sports. I bring in the commissioner on this as well, who's Albert. Please go right ahead, Michael.
Albert, and it's brought, this segment obviously brought to you by my plain gray mug. Read into that.
Wait 1 second. I did give you a mug, didn't I?
Oh, that's funny, Mark. You're eating into my 48 seconds. The answer is no. Albert, I think we got to talk ahead of this week of Alexander Ovechkin, right? I mean, 6 goals away from breaking Gretzky's record. He's on pace for it, I think. He's got some soft games. And look at this. Will Ovi break the record before we meet? Missed you at the Grijalva funeral. Like Carter was about the loss of way more than one man. Peter Newton. And $5. Thank you. I think he's going to break it. And I love that he's going to break it, Albert.
It seemed it was impossible. I mean, Gretzky was playing when goalies were wearing like no pads and they weren't even that flexible. And now to think that he could break this record is impressive, especially this year. We thought that he would take the next 5 years. He was kind of slowing down last year. He just ramped it up, and the Capital team looks great too.
Yeah, but first of all, also Luis Michael, grade 8, only 6 away from history. We're talking about. Do you think he's greater than Wayne, and will the league ever retire his number? I don't think he's greater than Wayne. I think he's obviously a better goal scorer in many ways. If Wayne Gretzky never scored a goal in his life, he would still be the all-time points leader in the NHL. That just tells you about how unbelievable his feats were. But when we talk about Ovechkin, like last night also, he's the captain of that team. Marc-Andre Fleury, a goalie for the Wild, retiring this year, beloved in the league. The team, the Capitals, lost, were leaving the ice. Ovi goes and brings the guys out of the tunnel after a loss, says, get back out here on the ice, shake that goalie's hand. He's a legend. So, I mean, he's a leader. He's the team loves him. And, and it's happening at a time where Gretzky's popularity has waned because of how he's friends with Donald Trump. And that's, look at this. Who knew the Gretzky?
Yeah, you've got a real standoff between friends with Donald Trump and friends with Putin, or pro-Putin.
And in fairness to Ovechkin on the Putin thing, he isn't pro-Putin. He is. He was careful not to criticize Putin for Ukraine because his whole family lives in Russia.
Yeah, no, of course, that makes total sense.
And there are reasons. If he comes out and says this is outrageous, how could Russia be doing that? His family would have been poisoned, right?
That's absolutely right.
So I don't think that he's pro-Putin. I just think he is, intellectually neutral. But anyway, he's we're at I think 47.
Who knew that Gretzky would be less popular in Canada when his record is broken by a pro-Putin Russian, is what Depressed Canadian says. Thank you for that.
Depressed Canadian he's got it. I mean, Depressed Canadian, he or she has it right. In a way that the Gretzky's lack of popularity in Canada is astonishing. It comes because of Trump. It comes because at the Four Nations, he came out and was very chummy with the U.S. team and didn't do much with the Canadian team. They were upset that he was the honorary captain. Anyway, there's politics in all of sports, and there you see Ovechkin shaking Marc-Andre Fleury. One of the most popular players in modern NHL history, Marc-Andre Fleury. So that was nice to see last night.
Yeah, Fleury's teammate, another Gretzky note. Gretzky's record of consecutive seasons or total seasons being a point per game, which is insane, got broken by Sidney Crosby this year.
Last night it got broken. Yeah, I mean Crosby got a point and a loss against the Sabres last night, and broke that record. So this is a bad year for Gretzky records. Now Gretzky, once he's within 5 goals, Gretzky has to go on tour with him. So they're sending Gretzky to all these games in Columbus and Ottawa and wherever the hell else they are to be there should he break it. I would have sent him at 3 because I don't think Ovi's going to get 5 goals in a game. But anyway, we've
wow, this is really quite.
The only reason I'm here is because you are a friend.
Yeah, that's what I'm getting. Thank you, Elon. Michael Shure, 48 Seconds of Sports. Thank you. Tag it on to Michael's. Anybody ever call you Mike during your long, wonderful life as a Michael?
I never correct anybody. But my dad was Michael too, so he was known as Mike, and I was Michael. So I've always been Michael. But if someone called me Mike, I'm not going to be. It's Michael. I never do that.
That's it. Well, that's always a tough, double back to let's not have it happen again. All right, I'm Mike. Right. I'm Michael, not Mike. All right. Listen, Mikey is joining us on Fridays, and we love him. And thank you, Michael Shure. Appreciate it so much. Look forward to next week. Bye, my friend.
The Mark Thompson Show.
All right, everyone. It's time. We are a little bit late, and I've got to jet out. I've got a code yellow going on today, Kim. Code yellow. Immediate dismount and on my way. So I barely left enough time here for our lovely one, the man who comes through with all of our entertainment stuff. I'm stalling a bit because I'm trying to figure out maybe we should get. Can you give me an update on Myanmar? What was your give me a couple of headlines if you would, please.
Yeah, I can do that. You want to do a little bit of news?
Super little bit, because I really do have to get to Michael Snyder, and mostly I've got to get out. I've got to get on the road.
I can do it.
All right, Kim's news, real quick. Turbo news from Kim McAllister.
On the Mark Thompson Show, I'm Kim McAllister. This report is sponsored by Tenuta Vineyards at Tenuta Vineyards in Livermore. Wall Street is on track to end the week with a steep decline. Boy, stocks got hammered today. Fresh economic data on inflation and falling consumer sentiment sparked today's sell-off. The Dow Jones Industrial Average down over 700 points at some time today. S&P 500 and the NASDAQ losing about 2%.
Well, when my Lord and Savior Donald Trump's tariffs really take hold, then you'll begin to see things really bounce back.
Yeah. President Trump wants the Supreme Court to clear the way for deportations under the Alien Enemies Act. White House has been blocked from using the 18th century wartime law after it lost its first appeal in a 2-1 decision in a federal court this week. Today, the Trump administration asked the Supreme Court to weigh in, arguing the lower courts have no standing on this issue. Trump says next month will be our Liberation Day. That's ominous. Speaking from the White House, Trump said he spoke with the new Canadian Prime Minister, and he thinks it'll work out between the two countries despite U.S. tariffs that are set to take effect April 2nd. Trump is calling that day Liberation Day, claiming the tariffs against Canada, Mexico, China, and the European Union will undo decades of those powers taking advantage of the United States.
Yeah, watch that week of stocks.
Measles cases are spiking this week. New data from the CDC shows half of the country is now reporting cases of this contagious virus. At least, didn't we stamp it out almost? Now here it is. At least 483 cases have been confirmed, with one health expert comparing the spread of measles being like a forest fire in both the vaccinated and unvaccinated communities. More than 200 Tesla protests are set to take place around the world at dealerships, and this will happen on Saturday. Comes after months of vandalism and violent attacks since the company's CEO Elon Musk joined the Trump administration. Organizers are calling it a global day of action as part of a campaign dubbed Tesla Takedown. Boy, I'm sure they love that. Those behind this are aiming to damage Musk's standing in the political world by impacting sales and the stock price of the EV maker. Multiple people have been arrested across the country after dealerships have been attacked and cars have been defaced. So it remains to be seen. Is it okay to protest Tesla? Are you a domestic terrorist if you just go out and protest and you don't damage anything? Will people be arrested just for standing in front of a Tesla dealership? We'll see how this happens.
Well,
I love Tesla.
Yeah. A critical deadline for property owners whose homes burned in the January wildfires is now being extended. Los Angeles County Supervisor Catherine Barger says the deadline to submit right of entry forms for debris removal is now April 15th. So apparently people have been slow in getting those forms into the county, so they have gone ahead and extended it. A San Clemente surfboard shaper is suing Lady Gaga, alleging trademark infringement. Matt Bialo says Lady Gaga's Mayhem Tour logo is eerily similar to his trademarked Mayhem logo. Oh, he tells the Orange County Register he can't stop Gaga from using the word mayhem, but the font and the likeness is too close to his surfboard logo, and it's featured on the merchandise that she is selling as well.
It's all there, black and white, clear as crystal.
Don't screw with the surfboard people, Gaga.
Yeah, don't take those designs from those surfboard people.
The lawsuit is seeking no less than $100 million, but the surfboard guy says he really just wants her to stop selling clothing and other merchandise with what looks like his brand on it.
And there it is. You can see it. We've got it up on YouTube now.
It's kind of a cool logo.
Very cool. You can see why she stole it. I mean,
wait, what?
Or I don't know that she stole it. I mean that it ended up being her stuff inadvertently, perhaps. Yeah.
No. Is Michael Snyder here yet?
Snyder is here. Oh, yeah. No, he's been here the whole time.
This report is sponsored by, I thought we were waiting for him.
Oh, no. I'm sorry.
Sponsored by Snyder Vineyards in Livermore. It is the best place to buy. It is the only place to buy the Why Are You Yelling?
That is true. The
Why Are You Yelling?
Yeah, Why Are You Yelling? Red. It's a proprietary blend. It's a blend of.
One of you is Mark Thompson Pinot Grigio. There's two, a white and a red. Mark Thompson vintage. And I'm telling you, that red wine, the Why Are You Yelling red? Chef's kiss. So good.
So really, good. Really and the white one, because now we're getting into the warmer months.
Hey, which one do you use, Mark Thompson?
There's which one do you use, Mark Thompson white wine? But yes, I'm with Kim. The red is again, that's a proprietary blend of red grapes. It's just
out there at the winery.
Quite wonderful.
Why are you yelling?
Yeah, there you go.
You see the drone footage of Tenuta Vineyards right now. You can walk around the vineyards. If you are hosting an event, they do great events, and they have Easter events and Mother's Day events coming up that are hosted at the winery. Give them a call so you can book a spot if you want to go out there. They do tastings. They're open most weekends, so check them out. And, if you do want something, whether you're ordering it online or whether you go to the winery in person, you just use the phrase that pays, Mark, which is...
It's the phrase that pays, Kim.
Smash it with your iron rod.
Smash with your iron rod is the phrase. And you get, how much you get off? You get
10% off, but if you buy a whole case, they'll probably give you more off.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, and they're Rich is really accommodating, and they're both terrific, Rich and Nancy, and they've been with us since the very beginning. And it's a great. And just because there are a lot of people who watch this show and listen to the show who are not in the California area, this is in the Livermore Valley. It's not the Napa Valley. It's kind of this other hidden gem of great wine growing regions, and you must explore it. If you get out into the San Francisco Bay Area, into that northern Central California area, it is like as I say, this jewel of wine growing regions, the Livermore Valley and Tenuta Vineyard, Tenuta, for those who are listening. Check them out.
Phone number is 925-699-4576. Or if you want to email the Smash It With Your Iron Rod, it is rich@tenutavineyard.com. I'm Kim McAllister, and this is The Mark Thompson Show.
Girl, you just woo. The Mark Thompson Show.
What?
Who's Mark Thompson?
Feels great.
Seriously, what the?
When they raided Mar-a-Lago, God didn't like that.
I love it when you're angry.
Right on. Let's get right into it. This guy is brilliant when it comes to movies and music and television series. I don't know how he does it. He comes and goes on a rainbow. How about it for the wonderful Michael Snyder, the Culture Blaster? Hello, sir.
Hi, Mark. Welcome to the weekly Culture Blast on the MTS, or as I like to call it, Mike's Madness.
Oh, yeah. And congratulations on doing very well so far in the Mark's Madness competition.
I'm not sure of my status in the brackets, but I think Simon Cowell may have let me down again. I'm still a little annoyed, by the way.
Oh, sorry to hear that.
No.
Yeah, well.
You ignored my drops. Whoa, Mark, you're tripping. And of course, must you keep hitting your dinger? How could you ignore drops so powerful?
I don't know what you're talking about, but okay. I'm glad I ignored them now that you've reviewed them.
I'm so disgusted by her photo op.
What is it? What's happening? I have to turn him up. What's happening?
Yeah, I think you can hear him in the room, but
you have to hug the microphone.
I really don't. I don't believe I'm turned on.
Yeah, he's not turned on. You can just hear him in the background.
Hold on one second.
We can hear what he's saying, but it just the mic isn't on.
This is crazy. Oh,
unbelievable. It's like dealing with
Pete
Hegseth.
Keep talking. Go ahead.
Okay. Test.
Do you hear him or not?
Testing 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, we can hear him. Carry on.
So his mic is on. So I don't know what to do. I can turn it. Okay. Why don't you
tapping it and you can't hear a thing.
Oh, it's interesting because he's right. I'm seeing a meter reading on him, but I'm not hearing your tapping. That's really odd. Sorry about this, everyone. Let me just keep tapping for a second, will you?
I will do so. It doesn't seem as if this microphone is connected, perhaps. I don't know.
If I turn off all the mics in the room, which I've just done, I can still hear you. How could that possibly be?
I don't know. Can't tell you.
But you're right. I'm not hearing the tapping.
That's because you're hearing me through your ears and your own microphone as background noise.
But Kim is not hearing you through your ears. So this is a tough spot. I don't know what to do.
We can hear what he's saying, so he just has to talk a little louder and rock and roll.
It's like news for the hard of hearing on SNL.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, welcome to this segment on the MTS.
You do hear that? I'm so sorry, everybody. We, Michael works so hard on these reviews, and I'll have this looked into right away. I don't know what's
doesn't seem to.
Really sorry about.
Yeah, we're pushed up against it.
Okay, go for it, I'll get out of your way. And go for it, Michael Snyder.
Okay, look. We are confronted by so many movies, and we have so little time. I couldn't manage to see the weird monster-centric fantasy comedy Freak Out Death of a Unicorn with Paul Rudd, Jenna Ortega, Will Poulter, Téa Leoni, and Richard E. Grant. I mean, that's a cast, and it's opening today. And though the reviews are reportedly mixed, it sounds like something I should catch up with, but that remains to be seen. And speaking of being seen, some films I did manage to catch and review are about to be reviewed. I had really high hopes for A Working Man as a new vehicle for the buff and taciturn Brit action star Jason Statham. He's the perfect guy to play a punch first and don't even ask questions later hero or anti-hero. And yes, he's one of the many actors who's an expendable in the over-the-top B-movie mercenary franchise of the same name. But he's also the transporter, the mechanic. He's one of the Fast and the Furious. And he's done some really good heist movies like a remake of The Bank Job and Wrath of Man. So A Working Man fits a certain formula about a seemingly invulnerable guy with a certain set of skills. And Statham's terse ex-military man turned construction worker, who is also a widowed dad to a cute little girl, has to save the kidnapped daughter of his kindly boss, Michael Pena, from a human trafficking ring. And if this sounds like a variation on Liam Neeson movies like Taken, it falls short of that standard. Unfortunately, a working man makes The Beekeeper, similarly violent David Ayer-directed Jason Statham vehicle from last year, seem like Shakespeare, with a whole lot of shaking and spearing, of course. Anyway, Ayer, who is the director and co-screenwriter here, strikes me as a decent action director and a very uneven screenwriter. He did End of Watch, an LA set police drama I thought was very good. He did Fury, but they're kind of the only movies where he handles both chores and makes something truly good. I mean, he did Suicide Squad, the first one, not very good, The Tax Collector. And I should point out that he only directed The Beekeeper. He didn't write it, thus maybe it's all in the script. And here he co-wrote the script to A Working Man with Sylvester Stallone. And it's comprised of very thin and cliched and vapid dialogue and characterizations and mindless action. As Statham's character Levon Cade seeks out the missing girl with some support provided by a blind veteran from his old unit. By the way, this guy played by David Harbour and woefully underused. He wipes out literal gangs of thugs with impunity, but none of the panache of a John Wick or any number of catchphrase spouting Liam Neeson characters.
Impunity and panache. Ding, ding.
Vigilante justice never seems so pedestrian. A Working Man is in theaters.
Jason Statham talks like this.
I got a real meh.
Michael Snyder.
A real meh there.
Yeah, he talks like, hey, this is Jason Statham. Listen here, Vogel. Or whatever the F your name is.
It's about as good as my British accent.
Well, you know, I thought my Statham was actually pretty spot on.
I think you need to break something.
All right, just hug that microphone and get on to the next thing.
This microphone is not working.
It is, because mine's muted, so then I don't know how they're hearing you. It's just through the ether.
But
Go
are
ahead.
they hearing me? That's the beauty of it.
Yeah, they are. Go ahead.
The Ballad of Wallace Island is a sweet and sometimes laugh out loud funny and sometimes genuinely moving dramedy about the reunion of a once acclaimed UK folk rock duo called Maguire Mortimer, comprised of a man and woman who were also in a romantic relationship until the whole thing went sour almost a decade ago. So their coming together is actually engineered by a super fan of the couple's music. He's a jovial, get ready with the dinger, garrulous fellow who lives on remote, windswept Wallace Island, which seems to be off the coast of Wales. And he somehow manages to convince the man, who now has a solo career, and the woman, who has married and retired from the music business, to perform an intimate one-off concert on the island for a big payday and a select audience. And I mean really select, since Wallace Island is, again, a remote locale, albeit starkly beautiful. So the how and why and results of the reunion are at the heart of the Ballad of Wallace Island. And that's all best discovered by watching the film. And incidentally, the movie was developed from a short film of the same name by the same creative team, Tim Key and Tom Basden, who wrote the screenplay and are also significant actors in the movie. Key plays Charles, a man of some means whose greatest joy is the music of Maguire Mortimer. Basden plays the embittered Herb Maguire, who takes the gig to help finance his next solo album, which looks like it's going to be some pop pandering, not like the, honest, deep folk of his earlier years. But the movie's not-so-secret weapon is the award-winning Carey Mulligan as Nell Mortimer. She's incandescent and unaffected, and the character is someone who's moved on in her life but was curious to catch up with Maguire after all that time apart. The chemistry between Basden and Mulligan is lovely, and the bits of original music created for the movie sound like the real deal, and their casual but kind of instinctive vocal blend when they rehearse and when Charles plays their old recordings reminded me of the 60s cult favorite folk singers Richard and Mimi Farina, Mimi Farina being Joan Baez's sister, by the way. And as for the movie itself, it's got kind of a local hero, fisherman's friends vibe to it, and that's a good thing. Unlike A Working Man, which is in theaters nationwide, the Ballad of Wallace Island is in select theaters. So, I hope your theater is selected, as they say.
All right.
Considerably funnier than the Ballad of Wallace Island, although quite a different species of movie with a very dark historical backdrop. The Penguin Lessons is a comedy with dashes of drama inspired by the actual experiences of a British teacher in 1970s Buenos Aires who finds himself, quote unquote, adopted by a penguin as a military coup throws Argentina into chaos. So Steve Coogan, best known for the Trip film and TV franchise and projects where he plays the hilariously pompous Alan Partridge, is a major plus here as the nomadic teacher hired by an upscale private school to teach English to its mostly well-to-do students. And Coogan is ideal in the part, whether reluctantly bonding with the penguin and then using the bird to connect with his bulky class, or grappling with the genuine peril being unleashed on the citizens of Buenos Aires. It was written by Jeff Pope, who also wrote the screenplays for the fact-based Philomena, The Lost King, and Stan and Ollie, so he's kind of in his comfort zone here. And it was directed by Peter Cattaneo, who was the director of The Full Monty, speaking of quirky, heartwarming British comedies, kind of like The Ballad of Wallace Island and this. It also co-stars the veteran actor Jonathan Pryce of Brazil and most recently TV's Slow Horses. He plays the headmaster of the school. Although it's a bit lightweight and does not always mesh its light and dark sides, the charm and the appeal of the penguin lessons reflects the impressive pedigrees of those who were involved in the production.
Yeah, this looks like it's a great crew.
This also is in select theaters. By the way, both this and the Wallace Island film, they're going to play well at home, but it would be nice to support good movies in a movie theater, as they said to great effect during the Oscars with that little bit they did. Good old Conan O'Brien. Moving on. The Friend is upon us. More of a rumination on love and loss than a shaggy dog story. Screenwriter-director Scott McGahee's dramedy, The Friend.
Rumination, I'll take.
The Friend does center on the strained but ultimately nurturing relationship between a single working woman of a certain age in New York City, a writer and teacher named Iris, and played beautifully by Naomi Watts, and the enormous Great Dane unexpectedly left to her by her quirky lifelong friend and mentor, Walter, played by Bill Murray. And this guy, Walter, was an author and bon vivant who passed away, and she had a brief fling with him, but they were lifelong friends. So yes, there's a dog involved here, a big one, almost pony-sized. I mean, it's a bit of a problem when he's shoehorned into the relatively small New York City apartment where Iris has lived for many, many years. But this movie is about deep connections, whether we want them or not. And Apollo the dog is enormous, and he's also mourning his master. And as such, he's capable of wrecking a cramped apartment. And in fact, the building where Iris lives has a strict no pets policy, which means she risks eviction if she honors her late friend's wishes and keeps Apollo. All of this is compounded by Walter's widow, his ex-wife, who is played lovingly enough by, she's a terrific actress, and we don't see her enough, but Carla Gugino plays the ex-wife, and I was like, where have you been for the past few years, Carla Gugino? In any event, there's also issues with a daughter from another liaison of Walter's. There are neighbors, a building janitor. The Friend is a very thoughtful, low-key character study, and again, it's all about the connection between humans and animals, and it addresses all that with warmth, a bit of wisdom, and some genuinely amusing moments. It's a little short on Bill Murray, but Naomi Watts makes up for it with a very deep, complex, and vulnerable performance. And so does the sad-eyed behemoth, Apollo. Amazing. Those eyes, those doggy eyes.
That's sweet.
Make your eyes mist up. The Friend, like a couple of these other movies, is in select theaters, and it, too, will play well at home. Let's just wrap up quickly with a horror movie I just caught last night. They waited till the end of the week to show it to us, so we couldn't ruminate too long on it. It's called The Woman in the Yard. It's a horror film by a guy who has made a few really good horror movies. Homé Collet-Serra. He's the director here, and he didn't write the script, and it's not great, but it does feature a terrific actress in the central role, Danielle Deadweiler, who was so good in The Piano Lesson, and she plays Ramona, who has survived an auto accident with her husband after they've moved to a rural home that was a fixer-upper that he thought was going to be their dream home, and they get in a car accident. He dies. She's kind of broken up. Her leg is in, a kind of cast and support, and she's barely able to hobble around the house. Her two kids, a kind of adolescent boy and a cute little girl, they're all dealing with grief, the loss of dad. And for some reason, out on their front lawn, such as it is, suddenly appears a woman with a veil, all in black, sitting on a kind of antique chair and just staring at the house. So this is our, creep show character. And the question is, who is this woman? What is her deal? And how will she impact the family? What does she know about the auto accident? Who's responsible? It just has great tension for a long period of time. It seems very creative, but the denouement is kind of confusing. It just doesn't work.
Doesn't pay off, huh?
No, the payoff is really kind of, weak. But again, getting there is sort of fun. And if you're a horror fan, maybe you watch it streaming, but I wasn't too impressed with the movie as a whole. That's it.
I've got a denouement, of course. Let me recap the Culture Blaster. He, as you just heard, woman of the yard. The tension is well established, but doesn't really pay off. That's what he said. So,
the great sin of being muddled.
Yeah, I mean, you got to have the payoff, got to have the finish. Just gotta. The Friend, the Naomi Watts, Bill Murray offering about deep connections. Morning, Carly Gugino with Naomi Watts and Bill Murray. It is in select theaters, and Michael says it's okay. He would have used a little more Bill Murray if he'd had his choice on it.
Look, when you have supporting actors like Carly Gugino, Constance Wu, and Ann Dowd, and again a lovely performance by Naomi Watts, I think animal lovers such as yourself are going to really be right on board with The Friend.
That is in a select theater near you. The Penguin Lessons, Steve Coogan, Jonathan Pryce. The pedigree in this movie is special. Not bad. It's based on a true story. Michael, did you mention that?
I did.
And he says it's okay.
Yeah,
it's pretty good.
It's fun. It's funny. And these guys, again, they're going through their paces, but
I love Steve Coogan.
Yeah,
I could watch him do anything.
Pretty wonderful.
The Ballad of Wallace Island is this folk rock duo relationship that I kind of lost it all. It sounded to me like it's sort of it's comedic, but it's also
a little romantic. It's about lost love. It's about reconnecting,
trying to get them back together
down the road.
Yeah, creative duo as well. It's in select theaters. Michael said it again. You kind of liked that, didn't you?
I did. I liked it a lot. I like that and the Penguin Lessons and The Friend. I'm not over the moon, but I liked all three.
And
films.
He started with a working man. Jason Statham talks like this.
God, I can't believe I'm saying this. I like your terrible impression better than the movie.
How dare you? It's in theaters.
Wait. May I reiterate my favorite drop? Dude, you're tripping, man.
Is that a real drop? Or
no,
did you actually...
it's not.
It's not a real drop. Please don't muddy the waters of Mark's Madness with whatever crap you traipse in here. Michael, we do love you. You can read Michael. And, then you don't have to worry about mic levels. You can read Michael on the website, which is thevoicesf.org, the Michael Snyder musings that he's a very good writer, as you know, thevoicesf.org. Quickly, Giants win their home opener.
No, they won the home opener for the Cincinnati Reds, and this
they
should
say
be
the
a factoid. I heard this was the first time in franchise history that they engineered a come-from-behind victory in the ninth inning while on the road at an opening day game. I know it's convoluted, but it's kind of a record.
Is it Wilmer Flores who hit the homer? Was it
Wilmer Flores? Say it with Flores, as I like to occasionally burst out with when he does something good. And I got to tell you, it seems to me that Willie Adames is a spark plug. He went 0 for the game, but he had sterling defense and man on the bench and in the dugout when good things are happening, he is pumping them up. So
all right. He comes and goes on a rainbow. Bye-bye, Michael. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Sorry about some microphone snafus. I don't know. It was sounding okay in my headphones, but I guess Kim pointed out that it was hard to hear Michael Snyder today. I will have an official investigation.
It
next
seemed
week.
okay as it wore on. It was okay. Yeah.
Because I was completely muted. So his idea somehow that he's being heard through my microphone, that's just not right. I was completely muted. So I don't know.
Get a message from Jim Avila, who was not feeling well.
I see. Well, he's got some health challenges right now, so we'll take him whenever we can get him. But right now, we must.
The Mark Thompson Show.
Yes, thank you all. It is a. Thank you. Shadow producer Calvin Wong tells me that Michael's level was a little low, but still fine. So not an issue. I'm looking at what I need to do here, Kim. Do I need to do anything else? Because we're on code yellow, must leave quickly. Albert, can you quickly update the Mark's Madness situation? I think it's worth noting we have two
Mark's Madness
going. What's happening, Albert? Give me the latest.
Yeah, let me just refresh here. We have our 4 drops today.
Itty bitty bit of weed is well ahead of Tesla, 64% to 36%, and You Just Don't Get It is ahead of Judge Judy. Hear You, 64 to 36. You have until midnight tonight to vote on this in the post section of our YouTube channel. So now the leaderboard quickly as we leave. Take me through
Just
the leaderboard.
Quick notes, since I know you got to run.
Yeah.
Michael Snyder is in the top 3. Actually, he was.
Wow.
Matt
killing it.
Repanich, he fell. He lost both of his matchups yesterday. So the perfect.
He had a good run. He had a good run, but Matt dropped out. So you've got Travis on top. Who's that on top?
Travis Black and Vivian El-Shawa, Michael Snyder, all 3 are actually tied for first, since they all have the same best possible outcome.
I love it. And then you go down. There's quite a lot of competition up top right now, right?
Yeah, and not too far behind Amy B, Ron Holland, Cranky Charcoal, and then George, and then Matt. Matt has I think he had one of them going pretty deep, so his best possible is only 44. So
I see. You got to look at that, yeah, because you can be doing well in terms of ones that win and ones that lose, but if you're not, if you picked one that's lost to go deep, then your possible outcome, your potential outcome is limited. But this is exciting. Where are you and me? And where's Kim?
I'm pretty low on there. I think I'm 66th ranked, and you're probably a little higher. You're not too far off. You're 10-4, Mark.
Where's Kim? Bad. Where's my darling Kim?
Oh, I have to go to the bottom. I'm just kidding. Let me.
Oh, dude.
What?
So rude.
I have to look. Let me look real quick.
I don't think I'm doing very well. That's okay.
Really? That's okay,
Yeah.
Kim. Well, you participated this year. That's the key.
I really tried to be, a show trooper.
It's not easy. You are a trooper. You're showing your troopiness. David Botsford, thank you with a $5 super sticker to finish out the show. Get us going into the weekend. We appreciate that. The show is completely crowdfunded. Big shout out to all of you who fund the show in any way, Patreon and PayPal. Next week, I hope to get into some of our new Patreon and PayPal subscribers. And by the way, Tony updates the list at the end of every show. We put everyone who is in the Patreon or PayPal community that supports this show. We put you in there, in that scroll, but it's done once a month. So if you've just done it this week, it has to be toward the end of the month. You'd actually be included in next month's scroll. You can help keep us alive. Go to themarkthompsonshow.com, click Patreon or PayPal to join our community and contribute. We really do appreciate everybody who is a part of keeping the show on the air. I mean, that's why we run your names every day, because you are the real reason that we are here. Couldn't do it with just a YouTube revenue. In fact, YouTube revenue is way down. It's like alarmingly down. I'm very concerned about that, and that's not because of viewership. It's just because of a lot of stuff that is associated with externals. Again, it's a whole different world for me, and I'm trying to get schooled on it every day, but it's really helpful to have the support of the audience. That's all I'll say. So, Albert, thank you. Kim, thank you. Kim does the after party live next. Next week, Tom Hartman joins. Really great conversation about where America is and where we might end up and what the safety valves are and might they still work. And also David K. Johnston, David Katz, and more.
I'm Shadow Stevens for The Mark Thompson Show. Bye-bye.
Have a great weekend, everyone. We're out of time.
Bye-bye.
Out of time. Bye-bye. Thanks, everyone. And indeed, bye-bye. Bye.